So firstly, we are going to just share the new release materials that we have available for this release. On the release notes page of our customer website, our new release guides are available, and some of you may have already had a look at these. There's a guide for SCR, RMS and COSD. In addition, any relevant How Do I guides have been updated for the release, and newly created guides in relation to this release are shown to the left-hand side of this screen. Both our new release videos for SCR and RMS are available on our learning management system, and we do suggest that all users view the video when your trust takes our upgrade. And furthermore, to the right-hand side of the screen, you will see the prerequisites for proceeding with the 24.1 upgrade, and any questions on this can be sent into our Cancer Reg email address. So we're going to begin with the SCR changes. So you can see on here some of the key changes that take place in this release, and they will be covered in today's webinar. Some will be covered via PowerPoint and some will be shown within the system itself. And we're going to begin with single sign-on and reference data. So this is a very big change for this release. Single sign-on for SCR and RMS has been implemented. So when you receive the upgrade, you're going to notice a new look when you log in. Both the SCR and RMS applications now share the same login screen, granting access to each product depending on which one the user is trying to access. If a user forgets their password, they can reset their own password using the I forgot my password link on the login screen. So this is new to SCR, but it did previously already exist within RMS. For RMS, you will now see the login page message box, which is at the top of this screen. This was previously only available on the SCR login page. A new user management interface has been created to manage user accounts for both SCR and RMS, and it can be accessed from the admin menu within each application. There is an expandable side menu where you can update your own profile and reset your password. And for admin users, you can also create, edit, suspend, and delete users. Admin users can also access the user details report and a new user profiles audit report. In this release, work has started to centralise the reference data for both SCR and RMS. A new reference data user interface will store the shared reference data between SCR and RMS. The reference data items shown to the left on screen here will be stored within this new UI. All remaining reference data will be merged in a future release. This means that for RMS, there will be new reference data options for CNS support workers, consultants, organisation sites and patient titles. Accessing these reference data items will work in the same way as before by clicking on the relevant option from the reference data menus within both SCR and RMS. These reference data items do have a new look, but the functionality is the same as before. So we are just going to demonstrate single sign-on within our training system.
Okay, hi everyone. This is the new login screen for both SCR and RMS. And as Grace mentioned, users can use the I forgot my password link if needed. And the login message box is now at the top for SCR. We'll just sign in. Once we sign in, you will see the new user management page, and we will access all users on the system by clicking on the expandable side menu and user management, all users. You're then taken to the existing users screen, which is a paginated table of all existing users with tabs for active and deleted users. From here, admin users are able to edit or delete a user. At the bottom, the user details report is available to admin users, and also the option to create a new user, which we will click. There are sections in here for user details, account permissions, and also application permissions. And moving on, using the expandable side menu, we will navigate back to the SCR homepage and come on to reference data. A little bit slow. So the purpose of this now is just to show that you can access the new centralised reference data items the same way as before by clicking on the admin menu, then reference data, and we will select CNS support worker, which is one of the data items that has been centralised for SCR and RMS. Again, a paginated table appears with the options to search, edit and delete, and a new CNS support worker can be added from the footer button. From the expandable side menu, users are able to access the other shared reference data items. That concludes the demonstration on single sign-on and reference data. We will now continue with the COSD and CWT changes for 24.1.
So beginning with COSD, the version 10 dataset has been released, and as a result, there are changes that need to be made to both the front and back end of SCR. This includes amendments, additions, and the removal of certain data items, and all of the changes made are reflected within the XML and the Excel download, check report, and data views as required. We have created a separate new release guide which covers all of the changes. The guide is clearly split into the areas shown on the left-hand side of the screen. Our mapping documents have been updated with the changes. These mapping documents detail the data item number and name along with the location in SCR and lots of other useful information. They're split into core and site-specific data items, and there are 2 versions of each available. So that's mapping documents for technical teams and mapping documents for front-end users. All CNS dashboards that were within the Clinical Nurse Specialist Reports menu have been removed and have been replaced with 2 new reports. The new reports are CNS Contact and CNS Triage. So that concludes the COSD changes. Moving on to CWT. The CWT reports within SCR have been revised to reflect the CWT version 12. There are now only 3 pathways to track. As you can see here, the 2-week wait report remains, and the 3 pathways referral to faster diagnosis, referral to treatment, and decision to treat treatment reports are available. Additionally, these reports have been combined so that all those subject to the same time pathway can be viewed together. The decision to treat the treatment report now includes both first treatments and subsequent treatments, and these can be viewed together or separately. The referral to treatment report now includes 2-week wait, screening, and upgrade referrals, and again, these can be viewed together or separately. Moving on to the management PTL, the selection criteria itself has undergone some changes. Users are now able to select the cancer site and change the provider first seen before selecting a date range and date type or the week ending date. The RTT-DTT tab on the Excel download, so that's referral to treatment and decision to treat to treatment, tabs have been renamed to pathway, and they now include the faster diagnosis standard. Users are now able to track the 3 standards, so faster diagnosis, RTT and DTT, on the PTL management report itself. And the columns within the Excel download have been amended on both the pathway and non-pathway tabs. The CWT PTLs in SCR have been revised to reflect the version 12 changes. Within the selection criteria, the PTL type field can now be used to run the CWT PTL based on the 28-day pathway, the 62-day pathway, or the 31-day pathway. If referral to treatment or decision to treat the treatment is selected within the PTL type field, there will also be the option to further filter on the pathway type. So for referral to treatment, users would be able to select 2-week wait, screening, upgrade, or they can view all. And for decision to treat, users can select first treatment, subsequent treatment, or they can view all. When referral to treatment is selected in the PTL type field, an additional field becomes active in the selection criteria, and this allows users to remove referrals where the first definitive treatment will never be known when the patient status has changed to one of the subsequent treatments, for example, if the treatment was done abroad. Now that sounds like a lot of information I've just relayed onto you, but we do have a priority tracking list guide now available, which covers the PTLs in full detail, and that includes the inclusion and exclusion criteria, in the hopes that you're able to use them to their fullest. So moving on to other CWT changes, these are just smaller changes. Within the CWT performer, when a future date has been entered for the treatment start date, red text now shows underneath the date, stating it is a planned date. Secondly, within the pathway analysis section of the timeline, there has been some field changes. So the actual breach month field has been renamed to the RTT target month, which shows the month in which the breach is due to occur. And a new actual breach month field has been added, and this shows the month in which the breach actually occurred. In line with the version 12 changes, the 2-week wait validation has been removed from SCR. So this means that delayed referrals without a delay reason entered can now be submitted to CWT, and they'll no longer appear in the check report. Also, there'll be no warning message when the first appointment has exceeded 14 days from receipt of referral. Moving on to timed pathways, further enhancements have now been made to the existing functionality, and these changes are based on information and feedback we've gathered from users. The start date of the time pathway is now calculated from either the date receipt of referral or the date of consultant upgrade, only if one is entered. If both dates have been recorded, the date of consultant upgrade will be used. Furthermore, investigations and MDT performed days are now automatically populated with the earliest recorded date for that event. So previously this was a manual process. If required, a different record can still be manually selected by opening up the appropriate pop-up modal. Triage events are also now automatically populated. The triage date is calculated using the date of assessment on the presentation page if a date has been entered, and it can also be entered or edited manually via the pop-up modal. Finally, for timed pathways, the existing time pathways reports have been renamed. The cancer site report has been renamed to cancer site, and the event report has been renamed to timed events. A new report has also been added, and this is titled No Timed Pathways. So this quickly allows users to identify any referral within the date parameters selected that doesn't have a timed pathway. Users can then add a timed pathway to a referral from the report itself, and this will remove the record from the report. New to this release, SCR has the functionality to add prehabilitation to individual referrals once the user has the correct permissions. The prehabilitation page is found within the Holistic Contact tab, along with other CNS activity. All 3 types of prehabilitation can be selected, so that's specialist, targeted, and universal. Multiple records can be recorded, and there is a prehabilitation report available. And this is all included within our prehabilitation user guide. The referral matching logic has been updated when importing XML files from Macmillan's My Care Plan into SCR. So previously, both ICD-10 code and the date of diagnosis was used to match the importing XML file to a patient record. So this has now changed so that when importing the data from My Care Plan, SCR will use the imported ICD-10 code to find the referrals on SCR that match. So that's point 1. However, if there are multiple referrals with the same ICD-10 code, SCR will use the date of diagnosis to match to the correct referral. And finally, if no match can be found with the diagnosis date, the user does have to match the data manually. The XML schema has been updated to accommodate the COSD version 10 changes to the HNA and care plan data items. So for those of you who use our Macmillan interface, please do read this important note on screen here relating to it. We will go back to our training site to show you some further changes, but I will just see if there's any questions within the chat. I'm aware this is a lot of information.
There's nothing in the chat at the moment, Grace.
Lovely, thank you, Alex.
So we're going to use a colorectal referral for this part of the demonstration. We will just navigate to our patient. And this patient has had a FIT investigation recorded. Once we go into it, you will see that there is now a results field available so that users have a defined place to record this manually. The FIT result has also been added to the investigations data view. However, it is worth noting that this is not available via e-import. The recording of molecular and biomarkers has been moved from the presentation section and can now be recorded from the patient overview. The functionality is available for all cancer sites, and once a test is recorded, it will appear on all referrals for that patient. You will see on screen that we've already recorded that testing for Lynch syndrome was offered to this patient and accepted. We will now go ahead and add a test. So as these details are being completed, just a few points to note. Users will need to have the correct permissions to edit or delete molecular and biomarkers. Molecular and biomarker tests can be edited and deleted from any referral for a patient, not just the referral the test was originally entered onto. If any record is edited or deleted, this will be reflected on all referrals for that patient and will trigger an entry on the audit deletion report. Once saved, the results will appear in a summary table on the patient overview. A new report is also available to collect and display molecular and biomarkers data, and this can be found in the Reports menu and opens in 2 separate tabs to show tests offered and accepted within the selection criteria. We will now navigate to the NDT menu to view the live NDT proforma. Our patient has already been added to an NDT list. Based on customer feedback, we've moved the MDT Decision Care Plan section from the bottom of the page to underneath the first section. We've also made the MDT comments, moved the MDT comments, up the page, so it now appears under General Comments. The MDT comments box has also been made bigger, and next to it an expand button has been added. When the expand button is selected, it will pop out the MDT comments into a modal. Further down the live NDT proforma, you will see that a molecular and biomarkers tab has been added. This is a read-only summary of any information entered on the patient overview screen, And lastly, molecular and biomarkers have been added to the NDT reference data, and if selected, these will appear on the NDT outcomes. So that concludes our system demonstration.
I can just say, Cassie, you've just asked a question in the chat. So will the fit be audited and will we have to start adding? So the fit test itself isn't audited, as in it doesn't relate to any of the national audits on SCR, as far as I'm aware. And will you have to start adding it? I assume that's at a trust level decided. Obviously, to create a full patient picture, you would record everything possible on SCR. And for example, we add a positive or negative, but will we need to start adding the figure? Again, we've not on SCR itself, we've not got a red asterisk next to it, so it's not a mandatory field. None of those are mandatory fields to complete, but I guess within your trust or within your team, that can be decided by yourselves.
Hi, Grace. Sorry to jump in. I've just checked on the system. It's not got any audit fields next to it. I think the background is the result field has been added due to user feedback and how it's been recorded now, and how there's a big push to record the fit test information. So I think that's why we've done it, but it's not audited at present.
Thank you, Alex. And it's not mandatory on our system either. So thank you, Cassie. I'm glad that's helped. Moving on now, we're going to look at the other changes. So there are a few more changes made to SCR for this release. Beginning with staging help text. So updates have been made to this, and this list on screen shows which help texts have been updated. And full details of this can be found within the new features guide, but I'll just give you a moment to read that. Moving on, the prostate, colorectal and breast trackers have been removed from SCR, as this information can be collected within RMS. The information that you see on screen here has also been removed for the release. Nine new investigations have been added to SCR, and these are shown on screen. Data views, e-import, e-tertiary and remote monitoring have all been updated to include all of these new investigations. The SNOMED CT codes have been updated in accordance with TRUD, and these updates change some of the items listed within the drop-down menus that you can see here. And again, full details of this can be found within our new features guide. Changes have been made within our system to accommodate the updates to NICE referring symptoms and other referring symptoms. Cancer sites affected include colorectal, gynecology, haematology, lung and urology. And again, all of these details can be found within our SCR new release guide. All of the NatCan audits can now be collected in SCR via COSD, such as NOGCA. We have a NatCan mapping document available on our customer website. The following audits do remain within SCR. So these are COSD, CWT, RDC and SACT, and any of the retired audits will be removed from SCR. Are there any further questions before we continue? No. Okay, lovely.
We will now cover the changes in RMS for release 24.1. There are a few additions to make you aware of. Firstly, the sarcoma cancer site has been added. So referrals with any of the diagnosis codes on the next two screens can be registered and monitored on RMS. Secondly, the brain CNS cancer site has been added. Again, referrals with any of the diagnosis codes on the next two slides can be registered and monitored on RMS. So this does mean that RMS is now up to date with all of the requested tumour sites. And finally, 2 new placeholders have been added to the placeholder list. These are consultant title and next lab test date. So before we finish, that does conclude our webinar. Are there any final questions? Okay, I can't see any hands up and it's still quiet in the chat. So thank you for attending today's Learn and Share webinar. You will shortly receive a follow-up email from us, which includes links to our e-learning and user guides. We're also going to post a link in the Teams chat now to a short feedback form. We would really appreciate it if you could fill